at it. And then you can bounce it in there.
You want me to bounce?
I don't want sound to do this. No sound. No. No. Ours. No.
You know, Asher, the more you move it, the more he's just going to try to get in.
No. Ours. Well, the cat's trying to get the ball out.
Yeah?
I just got the ball out. Sound doesn't want in it. The ball needs to land in the inside.
Asher, easy, buddy.
The cat wants to win the ball.
Pop.
Asher, you picked that cat out, buddy. You're kind of stuck with him.
He's winning the ball now.
Sila, I'm just going to grab this ball.
Good luck, honey.
Look, honey. Look, Silo.
Asher, easy, buddy, okay? Hi, welcome to Mama's Natural. I'm your host, Rusty Red. In this episode, I'm going to go, as briefly as I can, go over our home routine, our rules, and our chores list. This is kind of our structure wall. This is the wall where basically anything that is vital and important to the structure of our home goes. This also includes a plaque that I've painted here. It's kind of hard to see, but it says, "Is it loving, respectful, and necessary?" So this is just kind of where the vital things to the function of our house kind of go. And it makes it easy for my husband and I to be on the same page because we can both look at and have the same schedule on the wall that we go off of. The children, when they get to where they can read, can go and look at this too. So with routines, in any home where you have one parent that's leaving the home to go work and coming home, when that parent is home, it is very disruptive to the schedule. In our case, my husband's been home for the last several months. He's been between orders in the military, and so he's been home quite a lot recently. And that has flipped our entire routine and how we function upside down. So I came up with a flippable routine chart for when Daddy's at work and when Daddy's home. So when Daddy is at work, basically Asher and I wake up at 7. We have breakfast at 7:30. Gabby kind of wakes up whenever she gets up, being a baby and teething. She just kind of needs to sleep in as much as she can. 8 a.m. is cleaning in the house, and then 9 a.m. Mommy and Gabby time, which is basically I spend some time doing whatever Gabby wants to do. Asher can play as well, but it's all about Gabby and what she wants to do. And we do about a half hour Gabby time, and then 9:30 we do a half hour of Mommy and Asher time. Same thing flipped. 10 a.m. is outdoor time. We try to make sure we get 2 sessions outdoors, even if it's only 5 minutes apiece, to get outside, get some vitamin D. By the way, you will get vitamin D through the clouds. So going outside on a cloudy day still is just as beneficial as going out when it's fully sunny out. You will still get the immune system boosting benefits, whether it's cloudy or not. Plus the fresh air is really good for your lungs and everything. Having our houses locked up all winter and shut up, we tend to get stagnant air inside. In fact, a couple times a winter we'll usually open the windows all up in the house and just kind of flush and refresh the air, and then it's fun heating the house back up after that. But 11 a.m. is lunch prep and chores. 12 a.m. is lunch. 1 p.m. is nap and quiet time. Quiet time is basically for those children who either don't need a nap or just don't need a nap today. And it's basically while the other sibling is sleeping, or if you're an only parent, this can still apply of you just go quietly play in your room for, let's say, an hour, whatever time you set, and it's just kind of supposed to be quiet in the house. Then at 4 p.m. is Mommy time with Asher again, 4:30 with Gabby, 5 p.m. is outdoor time again, and then about 6 o'clock is supper time, and around then is usually when Daddy comes home when he is at work. And after supper is when we do electronics off, and that's everybody across the board. That's TV, computers, phones, tablets, whatever, and that's for the adults as well. We try to get rid of the electronics 1.5 to 2 hours before bedtime, just because of the way it affects sleep. One of these days I'll do a video on sleep routine and what things how different things affect our sleep, good or bad. And then at 7 p.m. is daddy time with Gabby, and then 7:30 daddy time with Asher, and then 8 p.m. starts our bedtime routine, and that includes briefly picking up all of our toys before bed. When daddy's home is when I get a little bit more me time. So because I have low iron and a few other health issues, I need a little bit more sleep just to be able to function each day. So 7 o'clock, Asher wakes up religiously at 7 o'clock. So the boys are up at 7 eating by 7:30. Nate gets a few chores done at 8 o'clock. Usually around by 8:30, Gabby and I are usually up and having breakfast. And then 9 o'clock is when Dad takes the kids. And that gives me time to work on my videos, work on some chores around the house, work on writing my book, whatever I need to get done that I can't do with the kids hanging on my arms. Then we go into 11 o'clock is lunch prep, chores time, and Gabby gets a little nap around then. 12 p.m. is lunch. 1 p.m. is when we do any of our town runs. With our town runs, I usually try to bring somebody with me just because Asher does have a high-functioning diagnosis of autism. So I try to take someone with me if at all possible just to take some of the extra stress off of that. And then with town runs, it overrides pretty much anything else in the afternoon until we get home, and then we try to pick up at whatever time we get home. 2:30 is nap and quiet time. 4 p.m. daddy time with kids. 5:30 p.m. supper prep. 6 p.m. supper. Again, after supper, electronics are off. 7 p.m. is family time, and then 8 p.m. cleanup and bedtime routine. So this makes this really easy because then Dad can be on board with whatever's happening. And if I'm not feeling good one day, he can come in and go, okay, what needs to be done? He can come and look at the list. Well, it's 6 o'clock, supper's out, so he's responsible for electronics off, or whatever. He can jump right in. Then over here we have our chores. So on our daily routine, we have it listed where we have to do chores every day. I like to keep it fairly simple. There's 3 chores per person, with the exception of Gabby. She'll acquire chores as she gets older. So for Daddy, it's feed, water, and care for the animals. We have 4 dogs, a cat, 2 miniature horses, and roughly 30 chickens, and plans to expand that next summer to some more animals as well. So his job is taking care of all the animals unless work gets in the way. Sometimes work has him come in extremely early. Then he does dishes and puts away his own laundry. Everybody in the house that is capable puts away their own laundry. Mommy's chores are laundry, clean and declutter the house, and I do kids' education time. If I don't have this written down on here, I will forget to do it just because I get wrapped up in everything else. So kids' education time might be playing a shapes game with Gabby. Asher really, because I'm writing a book, children's novel, Asher's really wanting to learn how to read, so I'm working with him on his letters and sounds. Asher's chores. Yes, I have a not quite 3-year-old that has routine chores he has to do. I feel like the younger we can implement chores, the concept of being responsible and taking care of things, even in the smallest possible way, the better it's going to be for them when they get older. It's not exploiting your child. It's not. These are things that are just part of things that I have to do because of him. So he gets to help take care of his own stuff. And I feel like it helps mentally structure his day a little bit better. It's kind of like almost like a job for him. Our species needs to be challenged. We need growth. We need improvement in our lives. And if we're not doing that, we stagnate and we become depressed. So I feel like having chores can kind of give them a little bit of an area to be proud and successful. And anytime grandparents come over, Asher gets to go and proudly show off what an awesome job he's done with his chores. So it's kind of a pride point for him. I digressed. So for Asher, his job is to clean up his toys before bedtime. In one of my other videos, I showed that what a typical cleanup session looks like in our playroom. 2 is to help feed and exercise the cat, the dogs, and I haven't added on here, but he's also now responsible for helping take care of the chickens. Basically just run out and throw our compost out to them, feed them, collect eggs. And with dogs for exercise, maybe we have a leash that has 2 handles on it, so he can hang onto one handle while we walk the dogs or throw the ball for them. He plays with the cat during the day. And then number 3 is help clean up his own laundry. So Because we have my husband with ADHD, I have a probable ADHD, and then Asher has autism and ADHD. Having things in the right place all the time is kind of a struggle, and so I've had to come to terms with accepting that there's just going to be piles of clothes in each room. And so what I try to do is not worry about it, and if there's a piece of clothing in the middle of the floor, I just pop it over into the pile, and then once a day I go through with a laundry basket and collect whatever I need to collect up. And so his job is when I come through the room with a basket, he has to put any of his and Gabby's clothes in the basket. And then Gabby's only chore is just helping clean up her toys, and really all that looks like is me carrying her over to a toy, coaxing her to pick it up. I carry her over to the bin, and then I encourage her to drop the toy in the bin, and we maybe do 2 or 3 toys, and she's done. It's just kind of the very smallest steps of introducing cleanup time. Rules. Number 1 is a very generic rule. Be kind, respectful, and loving. Number 2, this is more of an Asher's rule. If you need help, ask. It'll apply for Gabby too, but Asher especially struggles with asking for help. He tends to be very impulsive. One of these times I'm going to do a video just on kind of challenges with raising autistic children. Even though he is high functioning, it does mean that it's not as challenging what he has to deal with each day, but it does present some unique challenges that we have had to kind of roll with. And so I'll do a video on that one of these days so you kind of get an idea on behind some of these things. So he tends to be very impulsive and not ask for help and try to handle the situation himself. And his patience as a child in general already is very low, and so he will very quickly resort to violent ways of trying to solve his problems. So this is what we're really working with him on, is he needs to ask for help. 3 is be respectful of personal space. Again, Asher, he struggles with personal boundaries, and he's been that way kind of since birth. So we're working on that. Number 4, no kicking, hitting, or biting. Typical sibling rivalry stuff. Number 5, no snatching or grabbing toys from each other. 6 is no bullying. 7 is be nice to the animals. With Asher, he tends to struggle a little bit with empathy, and so he absolutely adores his animals. He really, really does. But because of the lacking in empathy, he enjoys kind of being kind of rough and mean to the animals. Just entertain himself with a cause and effect more than anything, I think. So again, in one of these other videos, I'll explain a little bit more about kind of the story behind that. Number 8, no stools in the kitchen unless given permission. Asher is absolutely obsessed with helping in the kitchen, dishes and cooking, and so we've had to make it a very black and white rule that the stool does not go in the kitchen at all unless we have permission. Once he gets the stool in the kitchen is when we have a harder time controlling his behavior in the kitchen. As long as we can keep the stool out of the kitchen, he seems to be able to obey that better. But again, it seems like somehow once he crosses the transition in the floor into the kitchen with a stool, it's like there's a switch that goes off in his brain and he just can't obey past that. So the stool has become important. Number 9 is come when called. I do not chase my children unless it is an absolute life or death situation. I expect my children to come to me when I call them. I can't just take off and go running and chase them and teach them that, oh, mommy will just come and get you if you don't come when I call. I can't always do that. If I've got a baby in my hands, I mean, especially when Gabby was newborn or when I was 30-some weeks pregnant, I can't go bolting across a field chasing my son. We live out in the country, by the way. I can't just go bolting across the field, or heaven forbid, he would take off to the road a lot. He was obsessed with the road to the point that we had to fence off our front yard. So training at a very young age, you come when called, has been very important. And then number 10 is just pretty simple, clean up after yourself. You make a mess, you clean it up. Even Gabby, we have kind of help a little bit. So every once in a while, she'll make a mess with her food, and so I'll put a wet rag in her hands that she can chew on, and then I'll take her little hand and I'll kind of get her started on rubbing her hand back and forth, and then she'll kind of just sit and play with the rag with wiping it up. So it just kind of gives her kind of a, again, very, very tiny introduction to cleaning up. So this is basically our structures wall. So like, subscribe, and in the comments below, share with me, what does your daily routine look like? What rules do you have that are unique for your specific children? What rules did your child kind of spark the idea of? And what chores do you have for all of your children? We'll see you in the next video.